So episode 2 of The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon season 3 is airing tomorrow, so I do want to talk about everything of what to expect, break down the trailer, break down everything that we basically got for this. I haven't actually done an episode 2 video at all this week, and so it's the day before. I guess let's just talk about episode 2 here. So before we go any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all of my Walking Dead content like this. So tomorrow's episode is called La Ofrenda, and I guess the episode, the synopsis of the episode anyway, says, shipwrecked in Spain, Daryl and Carol seek refuge in a peaceful village. And obviously that's sort of what to expect here, right? This episode is going to be Daryl and Carol finding Roberto and Justina. We actually see that in a scene here that we'll talk about in a second, but they actually meet them and then they take them to their community, To Solaz Del Mar. And so, it's supposed to be a really amazing community. I'm excited to actually see the community because I think that based off of a lot of, the early reviews and stuff, I think that this community is something that is actually going to be really cool to see. I think is going to be a really awesome place for the characters to be. I think it'll be much better than the Nest. Honestly, I was not a fan of the Nest. I think in season 1, we saw a little bit of it and it was kind of cool, but in season 2, I just really was not a fan of that place in general because it just didn't really look the most interesting. Yes, from far away it did, but when you're there, it was just I don't know. I wasn't a fan of the storyline there, to be honest, but Solaz Del Mar looks actually really interesting. And so, this episode was written by Jason Richman and David Zabel, and also I believe it was directed by Daniel Percival, who I believe has directed a lot more episodes in The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon. It's the last episode that he's directing for the season, so maybe he'll be back in season 4, I'm not sure, but I know that he's directed episodes in season 1 and 2, and so the one scene that we did actually get from this episode, it was released by AMC yesterday, I believe, and we do see Daryl actually when he first finds Carol, and so it's pretty much going to happen just like that. It's sort of what I expected it to be anyways. It was sort of a, cliffhanger in some sense, but it wasn't the biggest cliffhanger. It was obviously we knew Carol was going to be fine. The trailer right afterwards showed that Carol was there. That is something that The Walking Dead used to do a long time ago, where it was if Carol was missing, they would just leave it there and people would be like, wait, what? What's going on, right? And then, obviously people get mad about that afterwards because it's wow, you're teasing her death and it never happened, right? I'm just thinking about season 6 specifically. There's so many things. I know there's the big cliffhanger at the end, but, there was Daryl's, possible death there in episode 15. There was Glenn's dumpster death. Those are really popular ones there, but it happened a lot. In this scene, though, we see Daryl and Carol. They're actually watching these two characters named Justina and Roberto. And so these characters are going to be characters that are going to be really important to the story of season 3. I think that their story is going to be the heart, really, of the season, because I think that, what this king is likely going to be doing is obviously taking people to his own community and all that, and, I guess in return for that, he keeps their community safe. I'm not entirely sure of the specifics of all of that, but that seems to be what the storyline here is, and it seems like Justina might be one of the characters that is taken, or it's another character that's taken, and so I just think that a lot of this is going to be something that affects a lot of the characters, and, that's a prediction I have right now, at least in terms of Justina, because Roberto, there's a scene where he's freaking out and he actually goes after someone in this house. And so I think that person there is from the villain community. We don't know what they're called yet, but I think that's what's happening there. And so it's going to cause all this drama. And I think that that's sort of where we're going here in the first 2 episodes here. So to get into some of the images that actually dropped here, because they did release quite a bit of images here. Do you see this shot right here of Fede? And we've been seeing this shot quite a bit. Well, actually, there's one that's kind of similar to this, but I really just can't wait to watch episode 2 because I feel like we've been seeing this forever now. Just him saying, welcome to Solaz Del Mar. It's we've been hearing that for months now. And so just want to see the episode, and just see the characters there and just be all right, we're there now. We're in this community. Let's meet all these characters, and we're finally going to meet this character. And again, based off of the early reviews, everyone's been saying that these characters are incredible. And so, maybe there's one character that's going to annoy some people, that always happens here and there. But I just, for the most part, I am excited to meet these characters because these characters are going to be a really big part of the next 2 seasons here. And they are going to play a role in Daryl and Carol's final story here in Europe, right? So we have this one shot of Daryl here, and it looks like, again, this is all episode 2. So this is all confirmation here that Daryl is going to be in this community here and is going to be literally just doing things in the community, right? So at this point here, maybe he's helping out someone here with some stuff that they got to do. We have this one shot of Paz as well. So we're going to meet Paz. Basically, all of the main characters are going to be introduced here in this episode, which is super exciting. Another shot here of pause on this horse. And so I believe actually a storyline that is going to be something that we actually kind of saw in the trailer is that her partner, I believe, is taken by the villain community. And so I think that when we see Daryl out there doing things, again, we don't know what the specifics of the story is, right? Like, we don't know why Daryl's going after that train and all that. Maybe it's supplies to this community. Maybe they need it for something, or maybe there's a way that they can infiltrate the train and then, end up in the community, or just like, I'm not entirely sure what they're trying to do there, but pause, I believe, will be with Daryl for some of that anyways. At least just based off of the trailer, it seems like, Daryl and Pause are going to have a pretty close relationship, I think, this season. And then we see Antonio here, and he's going to be a really fascinating character. So he's Roberto's father, I believe, and him and Carol are going to have a pretty close relationship this season. I'm really curious on, whether or not the character is going to survive into season 4. I think that for the most part, they all will. If there's a prediction that I can make right now anyways, in terms of any characters that are going to die in season 3, I think that Roberto is going to be the character that dies. I really feel like Justina, I think, should survive the season. I really feel like even if she's taken or just whatever happens, I think that she will be rescued and that everything for the most part will be fine there. But I think Roberto is a character that I can just see dying here, because Antonio has a close story here with Carol, and I just think that, for him to lose his son is something that I could see him bonding with Carol over, because Carol lost her daughter, right? So, and obviously Henry, and the list goes on. So I could just see that happening here, and I think it makes a lot of sense for the characters. So I think that Roberto's likely going to be gone at some point this season. And then we have this one shot here of Justina here during the dinner. And again, there's actually a lot of shots here of this dinner. I do think that this is going to be towards the end of the episode where everyone's just talking about this or that. Justina seems very upset about a few things. I do know that Fede, who is the leader of this community, is actually, I think, here for the dinner. And so there might be some disagreements of how he's handling everything here. Justina might not like him at all and just be like, I can't believe you let that community, like the king or whatever, like take people, this and that sort of thing, right? And so there might be that kind of a story happening here. We do see Carol here. And again, I think this is all a part of the same scene here where Carol and Daryl are learning about what this community does. And I also think that this is going to be where the catapults or whatever happens, and we see like all those walkers or whatever just like attack the community, or they're like catapulted into the community or whatever, and there's this big explosion. And I think a lot of that here is going to be an awesome scene here, I think, for the episode. And also if Carol and Daryl help out in a really awesome way, I could totally see the community here being like, all right, I think we need them because, they're actually pretty good with all that stuff, right? So I could totally see that being, a part of the story here. I do think that episode 2 is really going to focus on here's the community and meeting every single person in the community and really understanding what the story is and getting the dynamics between all the characters. We then see Fede here, and I believe this is him actually reacting to Daryl and Carol being there. So this is probably, I guess it's likely later on, in the episode after he says, welcome to Solaz Del Mar. I think that, obviously he's trying to see who Daryl and Carol are, and that'll be a lot of this episode. A shot here of Daryl, and it looks like at this point he's just kind of walking around the community, probably wondering, what the community is about. Another one here of pause on this horse, and so, yeah, I don't know when this takes place, but obviously at some point in episode 2, we then see Daryl here, and this looks like it's happening during the dinner or whatever that they're having. And so, and I know that there's going to be this big celebration that happens here. And it's obviously going to end in a horrible way here, but that seems to be basically what is happening here in this episode. So overall, I do think that this episode is going to be a really incredible episode. Honestly, I'm kind of expecting all the episodes to be amazing. Like, this one might not be the most exciting because maybe you're meeting a new community and there's stuff about it that's not going to be so action-like, though I believe the ending of the episode will have that as well. So I think that this episode is going to tell us a lot about how people, for the most part, are going to respond, to the Spain storyline. Because I think if people really like the characters here, really like this community, then immediately there's a lot of interest in like what's happening in episode 3 and 4, right? And so if you watch this episode and you just don't like the characters or anything like that, then it might be harder to watch the rest of the season. And so it's going to be really interesting. I'm definitely really excited for episode 2, and it's coming out tomorrow, so definitely post all your thoughts down below. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and stay tuned for my episode 2 review and trailer breakdown for episode 3 coming tomorrow, as well as a bunch of scene breakdowns and all that. And The Walking Dead is back tomorrow.